You know, I mean, you're expecting questions such as, calculate y for x equals 4 with this function, and here I come and I ask you, tell me what is a function. If I ask you what a function is, it's not only for the sake of being mean, it's also because I believe that you can't master functions if you don't have a clear idea of what they are. So in this video, I'll try to explain you what functions are, why we graph them, and I'll give you a few concrete examples. Step in. This is a supermarket scale. You can put any reasonable amount of fruits or vegetables on it, and it will tell you the price you will pay for it. You will pay a price depending on the amount of tomatoes you picked. It means that the price depends on the quantity. The price is made based on the quantity. Different quantity, different price. But always fair. If you take twice as more, you pay twice as more. It isn't random. Something allows you to calculate the price according to the quantity. And that something isn't the same if it is tomatoes or if it's carrots. That's why on that scale you have to push a button to tell it what you have put on top of it. When you're doing that, you're basically choosing which function the scale is going to use. A function is an operation that gives you different outputs for different inputs. Here, your inputs is the mass of the carrots. Your output is the price. The function is what links the input with the output, whichever the input is. Let's take another example. If you go to an all-you-can-eat restaurant, you'll pay the same price whatever you eat. If you eat 1 gram or 4 kilos, if you eat carrots or truffles, you'll always pay $19.99. That's another kind of function. Whatever the input, the output is always the same. But in the same restaurant, you won't pay the same if you go alone or with 3 friends. So there's another kind of function, in which the input is the number of customers and the output is the price you pay. Freeloaders will try to mix both functions. For example, parents will go with a kid and say the kid isn't eating so they don't have to pay for him, but actually the parents will take food for him on their plate and then it's a mess and the restaurant goes bankrupt because of irregular use of math. So basically, a function gives you an information depending on another information, and both of these informations are numbers. A function associates numbers by pairs. Functions can have 2 kinds of limits. Imagine, for example, the function that associates the profit a movie theater makes according to the number of spectators. First limit, the number of spectators is only between 0 and the maximum capacity of the room. Second limit, your input can only be whole numbers. Obviously, you can't have 41.7 spectators or something went really wrong. Prices are interesting examples to understand functions because everybody understands prices. Another example, 25% discount. Whatever you choose in the shop, you will pay only 75% of the price. That's another function, linking the initial price with the new one. But it's not only about prices, of course. Imagine that you're making boxes out of cardboard. Your boxes are always the same shape, let's say a cube to make it simple, but come in different sizes. The area of the piece of cardboard you need can be calculated from the side of the cube. That's a function. And what about a function that tells you the mass of a gold bar depending on the length of the bar, or the value of the gold bar depending on its length, or a function which tells you how many cookies fit in a box depending on the size of the box? As you can see, functions are everywhere. Well, not exactly everywhere. Functions are in every place where you have what we call a variable. A variable is an input which can take different values. The people who can fit at once in a shirt is not a variable, come on. The number of passengers on a train is a variable. Every day it's going to be different. When different values make sense, then there's probably a function going on. It's very intuitive. Depending on the number of people you invite at your birthday party, you won't buy the same amount of drinks. Functions are everywhere around you, so knowing them a bit is not useless. It can make you save money and avoid being ripped off. If I tell you that in a movie theater, you can either pay $10 each time you go, or buy a membership for $70, then pay only $3 each time you go, you may wonder, what is the best choice? If you study functions, you will know exactly what to choose. So basically, functions associate numbers by pairs. The input is called the antecedent. And here, mis amigos, if you could speak some Spanish, you would know that ante means before. It makes sense. And the output is called the image, just like what goes out of a projector. So a function gives an image for every antecedent. Basically, it makes couples. And we, human beings, crave for visual representations of them. That's how we understand the best. So basically, we could represent the input x on an infinite axis like this one, and we could represent the output y on another infinite axis like that one. And then we would have invented the graph, where every point represents a pair of numbers, and where all pair of numbers can be represented. So a graph is just the perfect thing to represent a function. On that infinite space, we just represent all the pairs of numbers that can be made with a specific function. It usually makes a line, but they can come in a variety of shapes. But still, there's something to say about graphing functions. Sometimes x and y are not playing on the same scale. For instance, if your input x is the number of cars a company buys, and your output y is the price they pay, maybe x varies reasonably between 1 and 20, but the price will be in tens or even in hundreds of thousands of dollars, so the scale of the two axes may differ a lot. Our last step to understand functions is a very important one. I call it translating into math, as if math were a language, and somehow they are. It consists in writing an equation based on concrete information or on a sentence. Look at this for instance. Price per kilogram is $2.2. Let's call x the input and y the output. Yeah, important. Oh, I've got a very important info to share with you first. In algebra, we use the letter x a lot, but the letter x also means times. That's really bad luck. How to write x times x? You know, I come from a country where kids are still taught to use cursive writing. We make our x like this, and our times like that. And we never make mistakes because it's different. In English-speaking countries, kids make the mistake all the time, and this is so avoidable. So please, do it like in Latin countries. Take their habit. It's only for the best. Okay, next. Now you need to learn to translate. First example. Back to our carrots at the supermarket. The price is $2.2 per kilo. Call x your input and y your output. You need to be able to calculate y, the price, from your input, x, the mass. If the mass is 1, you will pay 1 times $2.2, right? If the mass is 2, you will pay 2 times $2.2, correct? So basically the price you pay, y, is the mass times the price per kilogram. So here our equation is y equals 2.2 times x, 2.2x. Second example. You're taking a taxi that charges you $3 just to pick you up, then charges you $2 per kilometer. How much do you pay for x kilometers, which is your variable? Let's call the final price y. So the final price is the pickup fare plus x times the kilometer fare, which makes y equals 3 plus 2x. I hope you understand now what I mean with translating into math. It's a good skill to have, a good training for your brain. It's exactly what you need to be able to do when you're asked, Sonia's father is 5 times her age, but in 3 years he'll be only 4 times her age. How old are they? You know, that kind of things. Once you've translated it into math, it's very easy to solve. tell me how old Sonia is in the comments. And I would appreciate seeing your equation. Okay, great. Now I'd like to show you another example. So there is an architect. He's designing one-bedroom apartments. He follows these rules whatever the size of the bedroom is. The room is a square which side is x. The bathroom is always a 2-meter wide rectangle along the side of the room. The entrance is always 2 by 2, whatever the room size is. Could you translate this into math in order to know the area of the whole apartment according to the side of the room? Pause the video and try to find it out. We'll meet after. Okay, so the total area is the sum of 3 areas. Room area plus bathroom area plus entrance area. Room area is x times x, or better, x squared. The bathroom area is 2 times x, and the entrance area is 2 times 2. So, if we call y the total area and x the side of the room, we can write this function. Y equals x squared plus 2x plus 4. Now imagine that these flats are rented at a price that depends on their area. They charge $5 per square meter per month. The function that gives you the monthly rent becomes rent equals 5 times the area. It's 5 times, between brackets, x squared plus 2x plus 4. So it's 5x squared plus 10x plus 20. So now I think you've understood what the function is. Now I want to show you the variety of functions. In our example, we had to square x. For many reasons, when studying a problem, you may have to square or to do other things to x. For example, you may have to use the inverse of x, the sine of x, the square root of x. All this creates a wide variety of functions, and they can become very complicated. But just like for our apartment, there's a logic in creating them. At your level, they are not very complicated functions, at most things like the apartment one. So you don't have to run away, you're safe. We'll study them in detail one by one in the next episodes. I hope you learned something with this video. Before you go, I'd like to tell you a bit how YouTube works. Videos and channels get pushed up when you give them a like, when you comment, when you share, when you subscribe. All this is free for you, but it helps creators live. Every video represents hundreds of hours of work. And starting a channel is just working a lot without getting anything back at first. Please help me with all this. It's a few seconds for you, and it means a lot for me. So that's very cool if you can. If you don't do it, God will kill a kitten. And for those who can, it's even possible to make a tiny donations on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.